Hey guys, this is going to be uh, basically just the continuation of the D&D riddle that I had done before. There were four riddles to the trap. It's not even a trap. I guess I'll give you a slight bit of background. Basically, I had a giant island, floating city, and it was starting to crash after the death of the goddess of magic, and just magic went crazy. So this thing started to fall, and I had these huge, basically giant crystal structures that can store magic in my world, which, without knowing much about my world, but basically there were four of them, and that's what held the giant island of stone and buildings and earth and in the air. And because it was shutting down, the players were rushing across the city while the city was in great panic, and because magic, the entire city was magical, and when the goddess of magic had died, it created all this. Her clerics lost power, and magic went kind of crazy and awry. And this is a city of magic, and there's magic everywhere, and it just created such a backlash that there were people being raised from the dead, and people going insane, and wizards blasting each other in the middle of the streets. So basically, they were winding their way through to all these points where they had these access points. Where basically just think of them like as sewer tunnels, basically one on each, the compass points, north, south, east, west, and to unlock them, they had to be spun counterclockwise. Which this is information the players had found out, and they had to collect. There were four rods they ended up having to collect, and I think there was a rod of platinum, a rod of silver, platinum silver, then like an iron silver, kind of Damascus steel looking one, and then there was just a straight iron one. No, it was gold. I'm sorry, it wasn't silver, it was gold. And then a straight iron one. And anyways, they had run to them prior, and they had collected the platinum one probably like 8 sessions prior, and they were just carrying it around. They didn't know. They knew it was somewhat magical, and it was made of platinum, so they kept it, and they just never knew what it was. So they basically, it was a long, drawn out. This probably took, I don't know, we play 8 hours a day, so 24 hours. I don't know. It took a long time. It was over a month long of them just trying to do this, and when they got into it, they use those rods to open up the sewers, and they go in, and once they're inside, they had to insert the rod into, right above each one of the panels. There was the way you place the rod in, and then it would start the trap, which is really just a resetting of the power. Basically, it's just so you can get into the magical system to restart it or shut it down. It's basically a safety protocol, basically, almost like if you're on like a starship or something like that. So they put them into these panels, and each panel had different, answers that were outcomes, and then each had some sort of corresponding magical trap or summoned creature or something that the Lord of the City, Lord Starfire, had placed there as a ward of protection. So you already had one, and it was obviously answered correctly right away. Yes, the answer was 3. And even though the first two answers given by the apprentices were half the number that they stated, the golem would state 12, and then the other apprentice said 6. Well, it's 12, 12 letters and 12. So I mean, there's 6 letters and 12, so that's what he answered. It's just a weird combination of letters and numbers and how they work. So when he said Ted, he should have said 3, and he said 5 instead, and he got smushed. So my players had some trouble with that, and they eventually, after, I think it was either the second or third time, and they ended up getting it, which is fine. I mean, I knew they eventually would. And you have to be smart with these things. Like, you give them outs, like they can do. You always have your skills. You can always fall back on them if you trap your players in a place where for some reason they can't get some sort of riddle. You have to give them other outs. I only gave them a small, knowing that this could be a tough riddle. I only gave them 9 choices, 1 through 9. And so every time they answered it, their chance of getting it right becomes greater percent every time they get it wrong. And then they could actually get rid of some of the answers by doing, whatever, whether it was intelligence checks or engineering checks or history checks or, whatever. The second trap, which I'm gonna read you, I'll give you a quick rundown of what they were. So first off, congrats to anyone who got that or guessed it or If you've even heard the riddle before, it's kind of a obviously I changed it, but I had heard it some other way. So let me give you details on the second room that they came across. Was a large. There was an enormous a Baylor chained up in this room, and it was just out of reach of the control panel. It was maybe 3 steps from the specifically 3 steps from the control panel. And this one was yeah. So basically, the demon is the riddle giver, and when you're in there and you insert the rod, the demon, under, obviously because it's trapped within there, asks this. It says, answer wrong and release my bonds. Insert the rod and proclaim the truth. Now, I'll finish reading it, and then you can come. I'll come back to it and why I'm going to give you the answers right away. It says, what Mistara never sees, what Starfire seldom sees, and what a peasant sees every day. What is it? Now, without knowing anything about my world, it could be difficult, I guess, to guess this. Though I think if you've actually seen the riddle before, you may actually be able to guess it. So I guess technically, I'll leave it open, and let you guys try to guess what it is. But it's actually a fairly, I think once you know the players involved, it becomes a lot easier than what it is. And if every time they get it wrong, they actually just have to say it out loud. They proclaim it out loud to the demon. When they get it wrong, the chains give a little bit, and the demon kind of stems forward and tries to reach and gropes for them even closer. And the whole time the demon is talking to them, trying to give them the wrong answers and stuff like that. So it was a fun role-playing thing to do, even though the players ended up, I think they got it on their third try. They got it right on that one. But I think that they were tense, and they knew that they couldn't beat him, and being trapped in that room was kind of tense. So I thought it was it was fun. It was fun for me, and they seemed to enjoy it, and they liked the idea of it. So the third console portal, which was one of the ones that the riddle is known as probably an easier riddle, but it had a lot more choices because the panel had numbers 1 through 40. So you're less chance of just accidentally pushing the right number. So in this one there was a giant mirror, and when they get in there and they insert the rod, the mirror kind of becomes, instead of being reflective, you can actually see through it, and you can see it actually opens into another, almost like doesn't open. It's like you're looking through the mirror into another realm or something like that. And then there's this gigantic, just enormous gold dragon, and it's just staring there. And that the dragon is what gives the, I call this the dragon room. Is what gives the riddle. Now, every time they get it wrong, the dragon actually goes up, and it actually breathes through the one-way portal. It only goes from the dragon side in, and will incinerate the people on the inside. So the dragon asks, this is the dragon room's question. In a pond there is a dragon turtle. Every day it doubles in size. So if it fills half the pond in 20 days, how many days does it take to fill up the whole pond? And your choice of numbers are 1 through 40, and those are runes are placed in there. And when you place them, it closes, and then you can hear the entire crystal just powers back up. I'm not going to give you the answer to that one, so good luck. That one should be, I think that's probably the easiest. It was, in my opinion, the easiest of all the riddles. And the fourth riddle had really nothing in it. It was like almost like a blank room, which the players were sort of like taken aback by it when they get in there. On the murals and pictures, there was pictures of just undead everywhere, whether it was pictures of vampires and skeletons, zombies, ghouls, this just giant murals all over the room. When they put the rod in, it just kind of, an eerie voice asked, it wasn't even, not even an eerie voice, I'm sorry, there was no voice, it was just these words, these runes just appeared in front of them, and it had, it was the rune, it was like an M, a T, a W, a T, and then there was like an open rune space, and they had a whole choice of all different runes corresponding to each of the letters in the alphabet, and basically you had to insert whatever letter was next in that order into the wall. What throws it's yeah. I think people can get this one even without knowing something about my world. A lot of times when I do riddles, I correspond them to the history of my world. And obviously my players have been playing in my world for a long time, so they kind of have the idea of what my setting is, so they can get things easier than if I just told the riddle told to you, if you don't understand the context from what I'm speaking about, then it doesn't give you, obviously that won't work too well. And on this one, every time you get it wrong, you are attacked by a ray, basically a ray that if you fail your saving throw, it attacks your constitution, basically. So those are the riddles, and in context of how it worked and where I placed them. And I say they're riddles, but they're more just like almost safety protocols built within the magical system that the High Lord Starfire had created to protect the system that he put to. You don't want someone just breaking into one of these rooms and then dropping the whole city or knocking one out or anything like that. What was a little strange is that the floating city, was above another city that was under it. So, if it crashes, you don't just kill one city, you kill two cities. So, guys, hopefully you got the last video and riddle, and hopefully you get these riddles, and you just write back and say that, that's very simple, and you got them. And if you don't, then I'll just post a video with the answers, or I'm sure someone else will do. Chances are, I'll comment if you ask, I guess, but I don't want to. I hate to write down in my case where like I respond, and then it gives it away from someone else when they just read it instead of trying to guess. I like to hear people try to work them out in their head. I like getting answers and then seeing them try and then come back. And so if you get it, good for you, and hopefully this gives you something to think about for a couple of days. Alright guys, take it easy.